Every goal you've ever set had an invisible ceiling above it. You put it there. Your self-concept, the story you carry about who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible for you, acts as a thermostat on every outcome in your life. And the most dangerous part is that you've been adjusting to its temperature for so long, you've stopped noticing the room is cold. Think about a thermostat in a house. You can open every window on a hot day, and the system kicks in to cool things back down. You can blast a space heater, and the system compensates. The setting always wins. Your self-concept works the same way. You can hustle, grind, manifest vision board, and white-knuckle your way towards something bigger. But if your internal setting says, "I'm a $60,000 a year person," you will unconsciously engineer your way back to $60,000 every single time. This shows up in patterns people rarely connect to their identity. The person who loses 30 pounds and gains it back within a year. The entrepreneur who hits a revenue milestone and immediately makes a catastrophic business decision. The person who finally lands a loving, stable partner and starts picking fights over nothing. From the outside, it looks like self-sabotage. From the inside, it feels like the thermostat doing its job, returning you to the temperature that matches who you believe you are. Psychologists have studied this mechanism for decades. People with low self-concept don't just expect less. They actively filter out evidence that contradicts their internal story. A researcher at the University of Texas, William Swan, built an entire body of work around what he called self-verification theory. His findings were uncomfortable. People don't seek positive feedback. They seek feedback that confirms what they already believe about themselves. Hand someone with a low self-concept a genuine compliment and watch what happens. They'll dismiss it, deflect it, or reinterpret it until it fits the existing narrative. They're just being nice. They don't really know me. Give it time. The compliment bounces off like rain on a waxed car. Meanwhile, criticism slides right in, sticks to the walls, furnishes the room. Because it matches. So what does this look like in practice, across the three domains that shape most of human experience? Start with money. Your earning capacity has a technical ceiling: skills, market, opportunity. But long before you hit that ceiling, you hit the internal one. People who grow up in households where money was scarce often carry an identity fused with scarcity. They can learn every investment strategy, read every finance book, build real skills, and still find ways to leak money at exactly the rate needed to stay at their set point. An unexpected expense appears. A can't-miss opportunity drains the savings account. A tax mistake. A loan to a friend who never pays it back. The details change, the destination stays the same, and the cruelest part is the guilt that follows. You blame yourself for being bad with money, but discipline was never the bottleneck. The thermostat was. Relationships run on the same operating system. Your self-concept determines what you believe you deserve in a partner, and then it filters every interaction through that belief. Someone who carries the identity "I'm hard to love" will interpret ambiguous signals as rejection. Their partner comes home quiet after a long day, and the story writes itself instantly. They're pulling away, they're losing interest. This is the beginning of the end. A person whose self-concept includes being valued and wanted reads the same silence completely differently. Rough day? They need space? I'll check in later. Same event? Same partner? Radically different experience, because the filter between reality and interpretation is the self-concept. This extends into health in ways most people never consider. Researchers looking at cardiac rehabilitation found something striking. Patients' beliefs about their identity as sick people or healthy people recovering from an event predicted adherence to exercise programs better than the severity of their actual condition. Two patients with near-identical diagnoses. One saw themselves as fundamentally healthy, a strong person who had a setback. The other saw the diagnosis as confirmation of something they'd always suspected about themselves, that their body was fragile, unreliable, a source of problems. Guess which one showed up to rehab consistently? Guess which one was still exercising a year later? The body you live in responds to the story you tell about it. Your habits are downstream of your identity. Trying to change habits without updating identity is like trying to change the temperature by arguing with the thermometer. So how does the thermostat get set in the first place? Early. Painfully early. By the time you're 7 or 8, you've already absorbed thousands of data points about who you are. Were your emotions met with curiosity or shut down? Did the adults around you treat your needs as valid or as burdens? Were you praised for who you were or only for what you produced? These experiences don't just create memories, they create the architecture of self-concept. And that architecture becomes invisible, like the foundation of a house you've lived in so long you forgot it was built on something. The encouraging part, and this is where the research gets genuinely useful, is that the thermostat can be recalibrated, slowly, with friction, through a process that psychologists sometimes call identity behavior feedback loops. The principle is simple, even if the execution is hard. Act first, then let the identity update to match the action. Most people try it the other way around. They wait to feel confident before speaking up. They wait to feel like a writer before writing. They wait to feel worthy of love before letting someone close. That sequence is backwards. The action comes first, the feeling follows, the identity updates last. Each small action that contradicts the old self-concept creates a micro-conflict, a moment where the thermostat says this doesn't match, and the lived experience says, and yet, here I am, doing it. Stack enough of those micro-conflicts, and the setting starts to shift, 1 degree at a time. Critics of this framework will point out that structural barriers are real. Poverty, systemic discrimination, lack of access. These shape outcomes in ways that no amount of self-concept adjustment can override. And they're right. A recalibrated thermostat in a house with no heating system still can't warm the room. The internal work matters, but it operates inside material constraints that deserve their own serious attention. Ignoring those constraints turns psychology into a blame game, and that helps nobody. Where self-concept work becomes powerful is in the space between the structural ceiling and the internal one. For most people, the internal ceiling sits well below the structural one. They have more room than they think. The gap between what their circumstances allow and what their identity permits is where the leverage lives. You've probably seen this gap in someone you know. A friend who has every advantage, education, connections, talent, and consistently operates at half capacity. You watch them turn down opportunities that seem tailor-made for their skills. You want to shake them. Can't you see what's right in front of you? They can see it. Their thermostat says it belongs to someone else. Updating self-concept requires sustained contact with environments that reflect a different version of you back at yourself. Swan's research showed that people select social environments that confirm their existing self-view. Someone who sees themselves as incompetent gravitates toward relationships and jobs that reinforce incompetence because the confirmation feels like coherence, and coherence feels like safety. Breaking that cycle means deliberately choosing rooms where the reflection is unfamiliar, uncomfortable, maybe even threatening to the old identity. You've watched a friend move to a new city and come back 6 months later carrying themselves differently, talking about different things, making eye contact in a way they never used to. The city didn't teach them a skill. The new environment reflected a version of them that the old environment had no room for. And their thermostat adjusted. The shift happens in a specific order. First, the new behavior feels like acting. Fraudulent, like wearing someone else's jacket. Then, the dissonance softens. The jacket starts to fit. Then one day you catch yourself doing the thing. Speaking up, asking for the raise, setting the boundary, choosing the salad. And it doesn't feel like effort anymore. It feels like something you do. That's the thermostat clicking to a new setting. The question worth sitting with is this. If you audited your life right now, your bank account, your closest relationship, your body, would the numbers reflect your potential or your self-concept? Because those are two very different ceilings, and only one of them was installed by you, which means only one of them can be moved by you. The other one just needs you to stop mistaking it for the